In June 1942, the world was consumed by war, and the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean had become its most desperate theater. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese Empire expanded across the region with unchecked momentum. Their navy was built around a corps of highly seasoned pilots and a fleet of aircraft carriers that had encountered no equal. Their strategy targeted a tiny atoll called Midway, aiming to force the remaining United States Navy into the open and destroy them completely. Zooming out, the sheer volume of Japanese control against isolated American positions shows the incoming armada absolutely dwarfed the surviving fleet. Based strictly on the mathematics of raw military power, the Pacific belonged to Japan. A complete American defeat appeared inevitable. But that absolute confidence relied entirely on one assumption, that their movements were a tightly guarded secret. They weren't. American intelligence had already intercepted and deciphered the Japanese Navy's secure communications. Through this invisible flow of information, the United States pinpointed exactly where and when the Japanese fleet would strike. Instead of scrambling late, the United States sent their few remaining aircraft carriers to wait in total silence near Midway, cloaked under darkness. One cracked code took what should have been a doomed last stand and turned it into a calculated, lethal ambush. When the initial wave of Japanese planes launched to bombard Midway, their pilots fully believed they held the element of surprise. They inflicted immediate chaos, tearing through the island's defenses and shattering its infrastructure. The Japanese payload battered the tiny atoll, covering the installations in fire and thick black smoke. Yet, just beyond the horizon, the American fleet sat completely undisturbed, patiently waiting for the Japanese attackers to exhaust their first wave. That initial strike on the island was an illusion of success. The Japanese had sailed their fleet aggressively forward, leaving their own carriers entirely exposed. When Japanese planes were committed, American pilots rushed onto the flight decks to spring the trap. Without warning, squadrons of American dive bombers broke through cloud cover directly above the Japanese fleet. The attack relied on a near-vertical plummet, designed to drop heavy ordnance directly onto the fuel-laden decks of the enemy carriers below. The impacts caused instant destruction, igniting fuel hoses and munitions, turning the ships into blazing infernos. In minutes, the absolute certainty of a Japanese victory inverted into a total, uncontrollable catastrophe. This diagram tracks the devastating final cost of the ambush. The Japanese Navy lost 4 of its major, irreplaceable aircraft carriers. The physical ruin left in the water proved that Japan's capacity to project aggressive power across the ocean was permanently shattered. Their territorial expansion stopped. The offensive momentum in the Pacific broke forever, tilting the scales of the entire conflict in favor of the Allies. Brute force alone could not secure the ocean. The trap succeeded because the United States weaponized information, replacing raw numbers with precise strategic timing. The Battle of Midway shows us that victory is rarely determined by power alone. It is decided by those who secure the right intelligence and act on it at the exact right moment.